Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to the first episode of BHxtratime. This is going to be a weekly or bi-weekly podcast slash talk show about Bosnian football and Bosnian sports in general in the world. It's going to be consisting of most of the members of the former BHDragon's DragonTalk from a few years ago. So before we get started, we're going to introduce ourselves. I'm Faris, and this is the rest of the crew.
Hi everyone, my name's Adam.
Hey guys, I'm Danny.
Welcome guys. So we're gonna just begin with a shorter episode to just get everything started and rolling. So we're gonna cover a few different topics we've been seeing lately, and the first is gonna be the Champions League and Europa League and what we think of the qualification of teams, especially where Bosnians play. Like Pjanic and Dzeko have qualified to the quarterfinals with Juventus and Roma, and then in the Europa League as of today, both Kolasinac and former national team member Lulic has qualified with Lazio, and Kolasinac with Arsenal, of course. So on Dzeko, I think he's done a huge job carrying Roma into this quarterfinal of the Champions League with a huge crucial goal, 1-0 victory, and did a huge job. So what do you guys think of that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, starting off with Dzeko, the first thing I want to say is I am so happy for him that he came up with that goal in such a huge game, because still to this day, no matter how many things he's done, how many goals he's scored, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, especially outside of the Bosnian community where he isn't followed as closely. I mean, the stat that came out the other day for him being the first player ever to score 50 goals in 3 major leagues. If somebody else did that, it would be all over the news and the media, and it would be spoken about constantly. But for Edin Dzeko, he still receives a lot of critique. I mean, I've been to the Roma stadium, I've been to Stadio Olimpico, I've watched him play there, and he's not, they like him, but he's not, respected as he should. So it's so nice to see him come up on the big stage where everyone's seeing, everyone's talking about, and he's getting the credit that he deserves.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I think just like you said, he's very underappreciated. I think not just in other communities, even in like Bosnian communities as well. So many times I'll hear from Bosnians here in America and Bosnians in general that, for a few weeks they'll be all over him, and then, oh, Dzeko is trash, and Dzeko doesn't do this, doesn't do that, doesn't show up for the national team, but nobody actually appreciates how much he's done for every single team he's been at, and the statistic and the fact that you just stated about him being the first player ever to score that many goals in 3 main leagues. That's a ginormous thing. If anybody else had done that, if that had been any other player, we'd be hearing about it for weeks on end. But with it being Dzeko, it was maybe viral for a day or two, and that's it. But I think he's doing a great job, and especially with the fact that he's getting into his years. He's not young anymore. He's not in his Wolfsburg days anymore, but he's doing great. He's carrying this Roma team to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, which is just huge in my opinion. Pjanic, on the other hand, has been very low-key and very kind of in the background. I feel there hasn't been much attention to him, but secretly he's kept his form. He hasn't gotten injured. He's been solid for Juventus, I think. And going into the Champions League quarterfinals, a bit unnoticed in my opinion, but I think we're starting to see a new, more mature side of him.
Yeah, I mean, I would slightly disagree. I wouldn't say he's been unnoticed or a bit quiet. I know what you mean. He's not really stealing headlines as much, but yeah. I'm really, really impressed with Pjanic personally. I think that he's maturing as a player, and I think he's really reached that stage now where he's seen as a world-class midfielder that could fit into any team. You can now, when he was at Roma, I still personally had my doubts, would he succeed at Madrid, would he succeed at Barcelona? But now I'm 100% confident that he could walk into any midfield in the world and he would be one of the best players in that team. And you really saw it, against Tottenham. The Juventus did struggle, but every time Pjanic got the ball, he managed to get it under control. He dictated the tempo of the game. He created the assist with that really clever free kick for Higuain on the first leg.
Oh yes.
And it's really great to see. He took obviously a big risk moving from Roma to Juve, and I'm glad to see that it's paying off.
No, I agree. I didn't mean this. I didn't mean to say he goes unnoticed to me, but I think just in general, when looked at compared to other midfielders, I think other midfielders get a lot more credit for what they do and a lot more headlines than he does. But I personally follow him very closely, and I think, like you said, he's reached his maturity. I can see him play and start in any midfield in the world right now very easily. moving on from specific players, I think a big topic of late has been Prosinecki and the players he's calling up to the team. There's been a lot of friendlies scheduled, more than I've seen, I think, ever scheduled for the national team. And we have a couple friendlies coming up at the end of the month, and Prosinecki recently released his call-ups for that, so I wanted to see what you guys' thoughts are on the list and what you think of the players called up. I personally am pretty excited by it. I think there's some old faces in there. There might still be a few people here and there that need to be filtered out, but I like it. There's a nice mix of experience and youth. In defense, I'm really glad to see Memnišević get called up from the Dutch leagues. I think he's been doing really solid over there. He's still very young, I think 24 or 25, and he's been very solid over there. With our general backline, Kolasinac, very nice to see again. Vranjes has been in really good form in Greece. I'm a bit unsure about him. I mean, I guess for the national team, he's always just played right back, which has been his kind of like downfall because he's been forced to play that role. But now with Todorovic being hopefully our new right back, as seen in the last few friendlies, I know he wasn't called up this time because he has some U21 qualifiers to go to, but I think I think our defense is starting to take some shape. We'll get onto the Shimunovic thing near the end of the episode, but I think I really like what our defense is starting to look like. Midfield, of course, and attack, but I'll let some of the other guys give their thoughts before we move on to that.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the team, one thing I'd like to say is I'm very happy, sorry if there are any Lulic fans, but I'm very happy that Lulic is retired, and I think that we needed a breath of fresh air in that midfield. I'm quite disappointed to see Medunjanin being selected again. I think his time, I mean, he's had his moments, but there is no future for him in the Bosnian national team. And he's not a world class or a great player, so I think it would be best to get him out of the squad now and focus on some of these younger call-ups. Milišević, I'm a big fan of. Obviously, we don't really need to talk about Pjanic. I'd like to see Simirot get some minutes. Quite a big fan of his as well. I'd like to see how he can sort of come into the team. The problem that we've always had, I think, is we have a huge tier category in the Bosnian team. You have these world-class players, your Dzekos, your Pjanic's, and then you have these really unknown and these like smaller players from the Bosnian National League. We never seem to be able to fill out the middle. So yes, I mean, with Bešić back in the Middlesbrough team now and having a good run, obviously Kola's doing well at Arsenal. It'd be good to see some of these players, maybe like a Simirot or Milošević, really stamp their authority on the team and really get a good run of games and really show that they can step up to that next level. Definitely.
I'm really liking the look of this new midfield. Like you said, I contrastingly to you I did not hate Lulic that much. I thought he was a solid player. Didn't really show his all for the national team as much, but I'm glad to see some of these older faces leaving. Medunjanin, as much as I like the personality in the guy, I think this should be maybe one of his last few call-ups just to get him out of the national team. I like the way our midfield's looking. Bešić is getting back into form after an awful few years and unlucky few years at Everton. Simirot is a player I very highly regard, and I, like you, think that he should get some more minutes. I'd love to see a midfield of Pjanic, Bešić, and Simirot, and then start mixing in some of these other younger players, more attacking-minded ones. And then going on to our attack, Dzeko is always good, no matter what kind of thing is going on. He's our leader. I know he has his ups and downs, but I'm really glad to see Prevljak get a call. I know we have a few of these youths that have been getting called up over the years, like Đurić and Bajić and Hodžić, and they've been in and out of the national team, but never really showed anything huge. And I'm not saying Prevljak will either, but he's been tearing it up in the Austrian Bundesliga, and so has Demirovic in the Spanish one, but he's still young, and I think his time will come. But I'm very excited to see Prevljak come into the team, and I want to see what he can do. I want to see him get some major minutes alongside Dzeko, not in the same lineup, but along with him. I think he can be a nice future player for us, as well as Kodra and Bajić, of course.
Yeah, completely agreed. And another thing that I would love to see as well is these senior players in the team really putting their hands around the neck of the team and sort of dragging it forward. I am quite critical of Dzeko and Pjanic for Bosnia. I do think that they don't do enough. I mean, obviously there are other circumstances with regards to manager, formation, tactics, etc. But these Pjanic and Dzeko are playing some of the best football in their careers at some of the best clubs that they've been at, and or maybe not so much Dzeko at Roma compared to City, but still they're playing some of the best football that they ever have, and they really need to now take these younger players under their wing and show them that we have enough class to be one of the better national teams, and that we can and should be beating teams like Senegal with ease, essentially.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I think players like Pjanic and Dzeko need to step up a little bit more. And in essence, I don't know if this is a topic to discuss another time, but I'm not sure if Dzeko, as a player and as a persona, he definitely deserves a captain's armband, but as a motivating person in the team, as a fuel, as a person that's going to pull our team forward, I don't know if he's the ideal captain, but it is what it is for now. One other thing I wanted to quickly mention was the Shimunovic thing, and I'm not very surprised by it, but it came out today that he is rejecting Prosinecki's call-up, and there's all sorts of things going on in the media. I guess it'll come out in the next few weeks what the actual thing behind it is, if at all, but apparently he does not want to play for Bosnia anymore, and I only have one thing to say about it, and is if you don't want to play, don't play, and that's it. Like, we don't need to speak of it anymore. We've had plenty of these in the past. Tankovic from Fulham that went to play Sweden instead of us and all this stuff. So if you're not going to play for us, don't play for us. I'd rather not have somebody half-assedly playing for us and not actually giving their all and giving their heart for their country.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm disappointed. I mean, he's not an amazing player, but he's decent, and we do have always had defensive issues, so he would be a nice player to add to the squad. Obviously, he's only 23 as well, so there's a lot of potential for him to improve. I was very happy when I heard that he wanted to play for Bosnia, but as you said, we don't want players that are going to just use the national team because they can't get into Croatia's team, or just to use the national team for a bit of their own fame, or to springboard their career. If you don't want to wear the shirt, you don't want to wear the colours proudly, then it doesn't matter how good you are, you don't deserve to play.
We're getting to the end of the episode here, guys, so we just want to thank you guys for listening, and you guys can go follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at BHxtratime, and we're going to try to get a new episode up in the next week or two. Let us know what else you guys want us to talk about and what else you guys want to hear. Again, thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.